Do you know the key to a successful next act? I am the queen of next acts. And believe me, until I found that key, I fell on my face over and over again. I went straight from Carleton to law school because honestly, what are you going to do with an English major? So, got my degree, became a litigator, and I did that for over 9 years. But it didn't take. I was miserable. In fact, I was clinically depressed, and I can diagnose myself because I went back to school, got my master's, and became a therapist, which I did for over 17 years. Now that was better, but it wasn't quite a fit. See, I really wanted to be helping people be happy, live fulfilling lives. And instead, I found myself helping people manage their symptoms of depression and anxiety. Now that's important, don't get me wrong. It just wasn't my path. So I started this little business on the side. And I was coaching people who'd come to me who wanted to make a career change. I figured I knew a little bit about that by then. My business very quickly morphed as my clients realized over and over again they wanted to have businesses. So I started helping people who would come to me with businesses where they were stuck. And I would help them uncover their subconscious blocks and release them. I figured I knew a little bit about that too by then. I was committed to growing my little business to the point where I'd be able to leave my therapy practice, go full time with the business. And I worked hard at it. I learned how to network, how to write good marketing copy, how to record videos, create funnels, you name it, I did it. And nothing moved the needle. I procrastinated. I avoided. I sabotaged myself. I did things I wasn't even aware I was doing to keep myself and that business small. There is a famous Carl Jung quote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." I lived that quote over and over again. And it wasn't until I brought in this kind of weird technique that I learned in the therapy world called EFT or tapping that I was able to uncover and release the subconscious blocks that were keeping me stuck, that I was able to see any difference. And believe me, I had a ton of subconscious blocks. I had one that told me, like it actually came from both sides of my family, that said people in my family were not allowed to have successful businesses. So my father had a business that failed. His father had a business that failed. My mother's mother had a business. It didn't fail, actually. It was a very successful restaurant, but she got pregnant. And back in the day, you couldn't have a baby and also have a successful business. So she closed down the restaurant. So that message came to me from both sides until I tapped and released it. That held me back. I had another block that said I wasn't allowed to step into the spotlight. And that one actually dropped in. I know exactly when I internalized that. That was right there on college campus in my freshman year. And I'd internalized that thing, and it was preventing me from really shining in my marketing, in my business, actually in my life. So released that one so I could take center stage. And I had roughly a metric ton of blocks around money. Making it, keeping it, using it for good. And I needed to release all of those blocks. And as I tapped and released them one by one by one, my business grew. And eventually it got to the point where I was able to leave the therapy practice behind, go full time in my business, ultimately bring my husband in as my business partner. And now I work with people from all over North America and Europe to release their subconscious blocks so that they can step up to the next level or the next act with their businesses. People like my client who had a real estate agency, commercial real estate agency, who came to me because he knew he should be making so much more money than he was making. I was like, what's going on here? I know what to do. I teach other people how to do it? Why am I not taking these actions? Well, it turned out he'd internalized an identity as a starving artist. And that identity was fighting back whenever he tried to grow his agency and make more money. Because if you make more money, you can't be the starving artist, right? So we released that one, and he was able to then grow his agency to the point where it was what it should and could have been. And honestly, it's interesting because that shows that it doesn't matter consciously what you want. It doesn't matter what you logically and rationally believe. I mean, he knew if he made more money in the agency, he'd have more resources, more time to fully do the art that he was wanting to do. But that didn't matter. We had to release that block, totally release and change the identity so that he could be an artist, just not a starving artist. I also had a client who came to me, let's call her Marie. Marie came because she was not able to decide what kind of business she wanted. She'd known for years she wanted to have a business, but it didn't matter how many pros and cons lists she did or how many things she just tried out and thought about. Nothing seemed to call to her enough that she could say, yes, that's what I want. In fact, she had so much difficulty knowing what she wanted in all areas of her life that she would go to restaurants and have her husband order for her because she didn't know what she wanted to eat. Now, Marie had a constellation of blocks around the idea that it wasn't safe to know what she wanted, she wasn't allowed to know what she wanted, and these blocks came from experiences growing up where what she wanted was discounted or sometimes even taken away. So she'd internalized all these rules to keep her safe. Because if she didn't know what she wanted, it wouldn't hurt when she didn't get it. Except it did hurt. And so we worked on those and we released those memories and those blocks. And within a couple of months, she knew what she wanted. So she quit her job. She started an agency. It was a consultancy business that she wanted to have. And she was able to, yes, go to the restaurant and order for herself. So I've worked with a ton of different business owners with different issues like this. And whenever we get rid of those blocks, they're able to step up to the next level, the next act in their lives. And I want that for you. I want it actually for everyone. So please notice. Whatever your next act is, whether it's starting a business or growing your already existing business, or it's writing a novel, or it's maybe just relaxing and enjoying your retirement, whatever your next act is, notice if you hold yourself back. If for some reason you're not fully embracing it, you're not taking it where it could go. If that's the case, remember, it's not your fault. It's just something in your subconscious that's holding you back. And you can change that. As far as I'm concerned, Carl Jung didn't go quite far enough. He should have said, until you make the subconscious conscious, it will direct your life. Until you change it.